Are you ready for the ultimate test of Pokemon's skill? Welcome to the Nuzlocke Challenge, where the stakes are high, the rules are strict, and the journey is unpredictable. But this time, we're not just pushing the limits, we're breaking them. Because in this Nuzlocke, we're relying solely on the most overlooked and underestimated type in the Pokemon world, the Bug type. Will these small but mighty creatures be enough to overcome the trials and tribulations of the Johto region? Will they be able to survive the unforgiving Nuzlocke Rules? Join us as we embark on a journey where every encounter is a battle for survival, every catch is a risk, and every step is filled with suspense. The clock is ticking, and our journey begins now. We start by facing off against our rival, the infamous YouTube algorithm. Despite the fiery nature of his Cyndaquil, we proved victorious with... Chikorita? Hang on, you're not a bug type. Let me just... Ah, much better. As we journey through Johto, we're gonna come across many obstacles, and the first will be Falkner and his flying-type Pokemon. With some savvy research and calculations, I found that to defeat him, we would need to engage in some meticulous EV training. Without it, our run would be a complete and utter disaster, pretty much like any date I've ever been on. After thoroughly eradicating the Pidgey and Center populations on Route 29 and evolving Mercury into an unstoppable powerhouse, we're now prepared to embark on our journey. On the way to Violet City, we happen to encounter a Leddyba which I, in my limitless wit, decide to dub Venus. Though she may not be the shining star of our team, I'm not ready to call it quits on her just yet. Through rigorous training and grinding on the early routes, our hard work pays off, as we conquer the Sprout Tower's head sage with Mercury and Venus almost reaching level 14. Admittedly, their natures may leave something to be desired, but our training has produced tangible results. The level limit may be 13, but we're not afraid to level up during the fight, as I have a sneaky trick up my sleeve that relies on us doing so. This Pidgey might look harmless, but I need to watch out for its sand attack. I started with Beedrill and went straight for Poison Sting, hoping to take it down in one turn. Unfortunately that doesn't happen, but then Pidgey misses its tackle, which gave me the chance to switch to Leddyba and unleash a barrage of tackles and comet punches. And guess what? The Nuzlocke luck gods were on our side because every single one of our moves hit their target. But hold on, the excitement doesn't stop there. As Pidgey hits the ground, I've got some big news to share. We're now at level 14, which means that Venus has access to the game-changing moves Light Screen and Reflect. These moves will boost the defenses of our whole team and stick with us even if we switch. Now, let's face our next opponent, the formidable Pidgeotto. But no need to worry. Our EVs have given us the speed advantage, and we quickly set up Reflect and Light Screen. Leddyba, with its impressive special defense, can withstand a few gusts, and we safely bring in Beedrill to finish the job with Fury Attack and Poison Sting. Roost may try to slow us down, but in the end it's no match for our unstoppable offensive, and we earn our first badge. Hey trainer, do you want to hear a poem I've been working on? Oh, no, I'm good. Against Proton, a pushover he'll be. With Fury Attack, victory's key. Level 16 is near, Twin Needle our new gear. Against Bugsy, its strength we'll see. A grind to the cap will take the lead. With Leddyba's Reflect we'll succeed. Switching to Beedrill, Poison Scyther with skill. Venus screens to victory will speed. A crit could have ended our fight, but Beedrill with defense takes flight. 9 HP left, no fear. Fury Attack, we're here. A critical hit brings Scyther in sight. Poison finishes, we've won the fray. Relieve with Ledian on display. Cool. With that little poetry slam behind us, it's time to press forward in our quest through the region. But first, we must put our rival in his place. The biggest threat on his team is Quilava, which can easily put us to an early grave with Ember. I started out by using Ledian's Light Screen to weaken its special attacks and hopefully stop it from using Ember altogether, and then I brought Beedrill in to finish the job. Surprisingly, Quilava only went for Leer and Smokescreen for the entire battle. This was a bit strange to me, but I'll gladly take the easy win. Now we can venture into Ilex Forest for a new encounter with Earth the Paris. And while we're at it, I took a detour to teach Ledian Headbutt. In case you weren't aware, Heart Gold and SoulSilver have a fun little feature, where Pokemon will fall on your little noggin if you go ramming it into trees all willy-nilly. There are a few Pokemon that can only be caught with this mechanic, and for our Nuzlocke challenge, we're interested in two, Heracross and Pineco. I managed to snag Mars the Pineco in a tree right north of the daycare on Route 34. Heracross is a bit of a rare encounter, but I managed to find one after only 2 headbutts on a tree in Azalea City and name it Jupiter. And while it isn't a headbutt encounter, I also caught Saturn the Yanma on Route 35 north of Goldenrod. This thing was a major hassle to get since it only has a 1% encounter rate, but its ability speed boost will definitely make it all worth it. With the team now filled in and trained up, I drag Whitney back to her gym and pummel her with Jupiter's Brick Break. This battle was practically over before it even began. You people seriously think Whitney is hard? What a bunch of babies. It also turns out that I was playing on a Thursday, so I can get myself a Scyther in the bug catching contest. Or I would have if I didn't run into this Caterpie. I think Uranus is quite fitting here, don't you? As I continued my journey north, I decided to take the pacifist route and spare the poor Sudowoodo. And before I knew it, I found myself in Necrotique City, ready to take on another battle against our rival. Things started out pretty smoothly, but then my Heracross was hit with a quadruple super effective wing attack from Zubat. I quickly switched in Venus and braced myself for the next move. Just when I thought I was in the clear though, I was face to face against his Quilava. But I wasn't about to throw in the towel so easily. I set up Reflect and switched back to Jupiter, ready to take on any curveballs it could throw at me. As it turns out though, he was stuck in a loop again, using Smokescreen repeatedly just like back in Azalea Town. I've got to be careful though, because that's really just like the algorithm, constantly trying to psych me out and ruin my chances at success. But, like a true Nuzlocker, I persevered and emerged victorious, now more ready than ever to take on the 4th gym. And as for my YouTube fame, well, let's just say that I'm still waiting for that one magic video to go viral, but hey, at least I have these Nuzlocke journeys to keep me entertained for now, right? And of course, I can't forget about all you lovely viewers still with me now. You guys are awesome.
Hello? I love you.
The 4th gym was slated to be pretty problematic for me, since at the time the only things I had that could even hit ghost types were some weak bug moves and Aerial Ace. However, this game just so happens to conveniently place a TM for Shadowclaw right next to Necrotique City, and it's even more convenient that Heracross can learn it. So again, just like in the Whitney fight, Heracross destroyed Morty's whole team by itself, though his Gengar managed to barely survive one of our hits and landed a nasty Hypnosis. That had me a little tense, since Heracross is my saving grace for the middle part of the game coming up, but luckily we can wake up in time and finish it off with a final Shadowclaw. We can go 2 different directions on the map now, but there's a bit more to do in the west, so that drives my decision. We reach Olivine Town, then hit a roadblock since nobody in my party can learn Surf. So now I'm going to show you what we in the Pokemon community call a pro-gamer move. Look, all these trainers are avoidable anyways, so it doesn't really matter if I do this to get between Olivine and Cianwood. As our team prepares for this next gym, I can sense that our bond is only getting stronger. We've been working hard and our stats have really improved thanks to some intense EV training. But let's be real, some of our Pokemon's natures leave a bit to be desired. I don't think a hasty Pineco is going to be doing much for our odds of victory. Despite our semi-lackluster team though, Heracross yet again shines as the real MVP of this fight. Aerial Ace is a game changer, reminding us just how powerful this beetle truly is. However, Chuck's Pokemon are incredibly bulky, so one-shotting anything is out of the question. We make it to his Poliwrath unscathed though, and ready for anything. 2 Aerial Aces aren't enough to take down this punchy frog, but its Citrus Berry prevents Chuck from using his potion. I wanted to chip away at its health to ensure a kill with Aerial Ace on the 4th turn, but my Brick Break actually crits here, and just like that we walk away with the Storm Badge. And before we take off, there's also one more encounter we can get here in Cianwood City, so I'm pleased to introduce you to Neptune the Shuckle. Shucky? Okay, so we can't actually name it ourselves, but let's just play pretend for a bit. So technically Jasmine is the 6th gym leader in this game, but her levels are actually higher than the 7th. So I'm gonna head to Mahogany Town and beat up a defenseless old man first. After committing the unforgivable sin of killing a shiny, clearing out the rocket hideout, and evolving both Pineco and Yanma, we're finally ready for the gym. Now, I have a question for you guys. How do you think this battle's gonna go? Is it choice A? Price's Dugong walls our team and slowly ends this run one Pokemon at a time. Choice B. Piloswine lands 5 blizzards in a row and takes out our last Pokemon Fortress with 2 Mud Bombs. Choice C. Yanmega's Sonic Boom gives us reliable damage, but it falls to Ice Shard. Or could it be choice D? Heracross solos the entire battle with Brick Break. Yeah, it's pretty obvious. If you didn't choose Choice D, you might want to go back to trainer school. I can't technically call this a sweep though, since literally every one of his Pokemon survived our initial hits in Red Health. We were very close though. And if you need even more proof that Heracross just solos this whole game, then look no further than this Jasmine fight. Brick Break one-shots both of her Magnemite, and while it technically can 3-shot Steelix, I again play it safe like in previous gym battles, just to avoid proccing her potion. So after 2 Brick Breaks, I switched to using Shadow Claw instead. All that time in the lighthouse must have made her battle skills a bit ferric oxide, wouldn't you say?
Boo!
Cringe chemistry jokes aside though, the main thing I'm learning in this run is that Heracross is incredibly underrated. Show some love for my boy in the comments. After clearing up the commotion at the radio tower caused by Team Rocket, I can once again push forward in my badge collecting quest. And on my way to the last gym, I stopped to take a photo in the ice path to commemorate my achievements thus far, because if there's one thing I love more than slamming my weak bugs into battles they're grossly incapable of handling, it's taking a break in a freezing tunnel to look at all those sweet, sweet pixels. Maybe the frostbite will make us stronger, who knows. But anyways, it's finally time to take on Claire. Let's just say, dragons aren't exactly our cup of tea, since we don't have any super effective moves to defeat them. If only Yanmega had been a dragon type like it should have been all along. I mean, look at it! It's literally a dragonfly! But just because it isn't a dragon doesn't mean it can't help us out in the fight against Claire. She leads with a menacing Gyarados, but Yanmega's ancient power gives us a fighting chance. I hold my breath hoping for the 10% Omni boost, but fate had other plans for us. The battle was intense, with Saturn being pushed to the brink by 3 Dragon Rages. But she refused to give up, and with a final burst of energy, Gyarados was finally defeated. Next up, Dragonair. I called upon Venus to erect an insurmountable light screen, then passed the baton to Jupiter, who took both Dragonairs down with ease. The final challenge was upon us, as Claire's Ace Kingdra entered the arena. In a moment of desperation, I switched to Fortress, forgetting all about its weak special defense in the heat of the moment. Hydro Pump dealt a heavy blow, forcing me to switch to Ledian and set up another screen before making way for Earth. Earth led with Spore, followed up with Growth, and landed a critical hit so unbelievable that Claire refused to award us the badge. Our journey to collect all the badges wasn't quite over yet, but after we made our case to her higher-ups, the Rising badge was ours. I'm not gonna lie, we're looking pretty rough after that fight, but at least we have no deaths yet. Surely these kimono girls can't do anything real bad to me. Oh. Maybe they can. It's hard to believe, though, that we even made it this far without a death, but all good things must eventually come to an end. It was just fated in the stars for this to happen, I guess. Look there. Right there. Do you see it? Mercury's in Gatorade. After saving Luigi from the most boring existence ever being stuck behind a waterfall, then showing it how tough the outside world is by grinding it to a pulp, we can start making our way to the final frontier, the apex, the climax even, of this challenge. But we're faced one final time by the YouTube algorithm. He's sick of me trying to game the system, and I'm sick of him killing off every one of my videos. And even though we may win this fight, the war is never over. Because really, this rival, he's only a personification of the true enemy I face. And the only way I can ever hope to beat it once and for all is with your help. So take up your sword and your shield, and join me in this fight to be the very best, like no one ever was. Oh yeah, it's working, I can feel it! The strength you're giving me! We're doing it! We're really doing it! We're going to beat this algorithm once and for all! Well, I guess that's just how YouTube goes. You win some and you lose some. All you can ever really do is train to get better. Better at beating Nuzlocks, and better at making enjoyable videos for your already present audience. It isn't even really about the algorithm, is it? All that really matters is that we improve day by day and we have a good time doing it. I know I'm having fun, and that's what really matters. I hope you all are too. And with that lesson learned, I promise I'll avenge you. You know what time it is. We've come so far, and nothing these guys are going to throw at me is going to crush this bond I have between me and this team. Even little Pluto here, though we only recently met at the Lake of Rage. I hope her fate is much better than that of the real Pluto. So Will, I hope you're ready. You're up first on the chopping block. You'd think that a team full of Psychic types would be a breeze for Bug-type Pokemon, but he has coverage for our team with 2 Xatu and a Jinx. I figured the only way to handle his first Xatu safely was to lead Mars and go for back-to-back payback, which deals double damage since we're slower. He also ended up only going for me first with his Xatu, and Fortress can tank that no sweat. After it falls, he brings in Jinx, which leads with Psychic. This hits for decent damage since, again, our special defense isn't the best, and unfortunately our payback doesn't deal quite enough for an OHKO. The silver lining is we can at least burn up his full restore. Once Jinx is down, he brings in Exeggutor, and I know that this thing's massive special attack stat would spell an end for us, so I switched into Uranus and went for a one-shot Bug Buzz. Maybe I was wrong about you after all. Sorry for making you the butt of a joke earlier. Out next is his Ace Xatu, which I know has potential to wreak havoc with Aerial Ace. It starts off by confusing us, but I still manage to connect with the Bug Buzz. Aerial Ace brings us down to the yellow, and then of course we hit ourselves in confusion. So I need to switch into Saturn and take a major risk with Ancient Power, but it pays off as we're just strong enough for the kill and also get an Omni Boost. His final team member is Slowbro, which, thanks to a critical hit, can fall to just 2 more Ancient Powers. I also want to note here that in preparation for this battle, I did a ton of shard collecting for Lepa Berries since a lot of my moves have very few PP, and I also got a ton of Citrus Berries for extra in-battle healing while I was at it. Koga at least has a bit less coverage for us, but we're not quite in the clear yet. While we can take out Ariados with Ancient Power, we end up poisoned going into his Ace Crobat. This thing was destined to be a nightmare, and I knew that only Saturn can handle it since it can outspeed and one-shot nearly every other team member. I take a few minutes to decide on the best course of action and decide to take a bit of a risk with Ancient Power. I'm struck with deep panic as I realize that Ancient Power won't even be a 2-shot, so I'm all prepared to lose Saturn here. I can't stand to watch as I go for that final Ancient Power, but when the dust settles, I see that message, that shining beacon of hope. A critical hit. Through some sheer miracle, Saturn has just barely escaped death, and we can watch as his Crobat falls to the ground lifeless. I know I need to protect this Dragonfly at all costs, so I switch into Uranus to handle Venomoth with a few Psybeams, but we don't quite do enough damage to make a major dent, so I opt instead for Mars to see how well Payback can fare. We somehow break through the confusion 2 turns in a row to take the kill and bring in his own fortress. We have absolutely no coverage for it though, so my best bet is just to protect and hope for self-destruct. But of course I couldn't be so lucky, so I have to switch into Jupiter and start chipping away with Earthquake and Brick Break. It doesn't take too long to bring it down because we got a critical hit, but we did unfortunately proc his full restore, which is mildly irritating. And with that, we're on to his final teammate Muck, who is no match for another 2 of my Earthquakes. Bruno is 3rd, and Pluto is by far the strongest special attacker with fighting type coverage on my whole team. I lead with a few Psybeams to take out the Hitmontop, and then he brings in Onix. I can get a semi-safe switch into Heracross here since I know Onix has a terrible attack stat, and we at least won't take super effective damage from Rock Slide. I can then go for 2 Brick Breaks to finish it off and continue a sweep with Heracross's Aerial Ace, especially after getting hit with Swagger from Hitmonlee and making it through every single one of the confusion turns unscathed. But I'm shocked to see his Machamp just barely survives our hit. At least its Rock Slide isn't enough to finish us off, meaning we take the victory. You might have noticed a bit of an issue so far with how I'm leveling up relative to these Elite Four members' aces. The way I typically do the level caps for Elite Fours is to use the level of the ace of the first trainer as the level for the whole gauntlet. Will's ace was only level 42. The highest level Pokemon for the whole league is level 50. We're already 3 battles in and still have a mix of level 42s and 43s. This is looking pretty scary, but we're just gonna press on and see how this goes. Our last Elite Four member is Karen, and I know that Heracross can help us sweep most of her team. We can take out the Umbreon with just 2 Brick Breaks as it goes for double team, but then she brings in Murkrow. I know Heracross can't possibly tank whatever flying move is coming at it next, so I switch into Mars. Unfortunately, the move it had was Pluck, so it steals our Citrus Berry, but at least it isn't dealing too much damage. From here we can just Bug Bite it to death, and then she brings in the scary Houndoom, and it's here that I decide I need to make a major sacrifice. Nobody else on the team is going to be strong enough to one-shot the Houndoom except Heracross, and it can't take 2 flamethrowers back to back. So I glance at my teammate one final time, and I swear I see it look back to me as well. We've been together for so long, and with the flames now forming in Houndoom's maw, there's nothing left but to watch in sorrow. Thank you, Mars. I don't think there was another strategy that possibly led me to victory there, so I wiped the tears from my face and had Jupiter land the nastiest, most cruel Brick Break he could muster to pay Karen back for what she just put me through. We then proceeded to lay waste to her remaining Gengar and Vileplume, showing absolutely no mercy. Everything on the journey has led us here. I don't know if we can even manage this. We're 6 to 8 levels under Lance's ace, but there's no turning back now. We can't leave this room. It's either kill or be killed. I leave with Saturn, knowing that she's the only one who has a chance of putting his Gyarados in its place. We deal some significant damage with Ancient Power, but it won't even be enough to two-shot, and even with our Citrus Berry, his Ice Fang was dealing way too much for us to possibly survive. That is, if I hadn't been again visited by that vision of hope. I don't know who was smiling down on me for this run, but we somehow pull out another critical hit at just the right moment to take down this mighty behemoth. I then make what is possibly one of the biggest blunders of the whole run by switching into Pluto to save Saturn. I watch in terror as my entire team is torn to shreds right in front of my very eyes. Pluto, Earth, Uranus, Jupiter, and in the end even Saturn. I don't know if there's anything I could have done. There's nothing I could have done in this moment to give us a different outcome. Only Saturn could have outsped Aerodactyl, but there's no way it could have one-shot it. His Aerodactyl was just way too powerful of a foe, and we didn't even stand a chance. Maybe with higher levels we could have handled this a bit more gracefully, but something tells me that just wouldn't be the case. Maybe I just wasn't good enough. Maybe I just wasn't dedicated enough. I'm sorry.